Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into episode 6 of Mate the series. The episode opened with Jen watching Ori, her heart breaking as she took in Ori's pain. "Don't touch me," Ori murmured, her voice fragile and trembling. "I'm dirty." But Jen didn't flinch. She didn't retreat. Instead, she leaned closer, her voice soft and filled with unwavering kindness. "Show me, where do you feel it? I'll cleanse it all, every piece of your pain," she whispered with a guilty feel for Ori. Jen's determination to help Ori heal was palpable. She wanted to prove that Ori wasn't disgusting in her eyes. Slowly, Jen began to kiss the places Ori thought were dirty, her lips carrying a message of acceptance and care. Their eyes locked, and in that shared gaze, the walls between them began to crumble. Jen leaned in again, this time with a kiss so tender it felt like a promise that Ori wasn't alone, a promise that she was worthy of love. That kiss became the spark that ignited a flood of emotions. In the quiet that followed, their closeness deepened into something undeniable, something raw and real. The walls between them crumbled, and the warmth of their connection carried them into an intimate embrace that spoke of love, trust, and new beginnings. But the moment didn't linger too long. This was Jen's first time navigating such a raw, vulnerable experience, and she wasn't quite sure how to move forward. Still, their bond was unmistakable, and the journey they'd begun together felt like a new beginning. Jen, who had always prided herself on being smart on everything and always finishing what she started, felt a pang of unfamiliar inadequacy. For the first time, she couldn't shake the feeling of incompleteness after only accomplishing half the mission. Restless and unable to sleep, she slipped into the bathroom, her mind spinning. Desperate for answers, she searched the internet, meticulously reading step-by-step instructions. One suggestion stood out: remove nail polish and keep nails short. She stared at her perfectly manicured hands, their glossy finish a small emblem of her confidence. Removing the polish would make Ori happy, but keeping it would preserve a piece of herself. Torn between her own comfort and Ori's happiness, she froze, unsure of what to do. Just then, Ori appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing?" she asked softly. Caught off guard, Jen fumbled for words. "I can't sleep." Ori's eyes swept over the tools scattered around, her laptop, the bottle of nail polish remover, the clippers, and everything clicked. She stepped closer, her voice tender. "Come back to bed. I want you to sleep next to me." Back under the warm covers, Ori turned to Jen, her voice gentle. "Why were you researching that?" Jen hesitated, her fingers brushing against the sheets. "I didn't finish the mission," she admitted quietly. "I need to figure out how. They said I need to cut my nails first." Ori's lips curled into a soft smile, her eyes shimmering with affection. She reached for Jen's hand and held it gently. "Okay," she whispered. "I understand. Let me help you. It'll be faster if we do it together." In that small, quiet moment, Jen realized it wasn't about being perfect. It was about being there, present and willing, with Ori by her side. As Ori carefully tended to her nails, Jen found herself lost in thought, her gaze softening as she watched Ori's gentle movements. Why was it that every one of her firsts seemed to happen with Ori? Her first real friend. Her first time feeling uncertain. Her first love. The realization warmed her chest. Breaking the silence, Jen asked, "Are you scared of me?" Ori glanced up, a hint of amusement in her eyes. "Do I look scared?" Jen hesitated, then asked another question, one that had been lingering in her mind. "Are you happy, Ori?" Ori's lips curved into a smile, her eyes twinkling. "If I'm happy, it's because you're my happiness." The sincerity of those words hit Jen like a wave, making her heart race. Unable to hold back, she confessed, "You're my first love, Ori." Ori froze for a moment, her smile trembling as tears welled up in her eyes. She was so overcome with joy that she began to cry. Jen chuckled softly, trying to lighten the moment. "I guess I don't need to clean my nails today because I'll be too busy telling you to stop crying." Ori wiped her tears, laughing through them. "You don't need to clean them." Jen blinked, confused. "Why?" Ori looked at her, voice tender. "Because I'll do it for you." The unexpected offer made Jen's heart skip. She hesitated, unsure. "Do you really want to?" Ori nodded, her gaze steady. "Do you mind if I do?" Jen's emotions swirled, gratitude, vulnerability, and a touch of unease. Letting someone take control, even in something so small, felt foreign to her. "I don't know," she admitted softly. They stared at each other, caught in the tension of the moment, neither sure how to move forward. Finally, Jen sighed, pulling back. "We're done talking for today because we can't find a solution," she murmured, retreating into the comfort of sleep. The next morning, Jen woke up with a cloud over her mood. At university, she ran into Dr. Thought and they talked for a while, though her mind remained distracted. By the time she returned home, the sight of Ori lounging on the couch watching TV managed to soften her tension. Unable to resist Ori's effortless charm, Jen sat down beside her. Ori turned to her with a knowing smile. You didn't want me to do it because you're afraid of losing control, right? Jen froze, stunned by how easily Ori had read her. After a moment, she admitted, I like being in control. That's just who I am. Ori leaned in, her eyes sparkling with playful challenge. If you like control so much, I'll let you. Let's see just how far you can take it. Jen smirked, her confidence returning. There's nothing I can't handle, including this. Together, Jen and Ori finally completed their first mission, their success marking the start of something special. Day by day, their bond grew stronger. They spent their time laughing, creating happy memories, and sharing tender moments that brought them closer than ever. Little by little, their connection deepened, an unspoken understanding forming between them as they navigated life side by side. One day, Great arrived at the condo, his heart pounding with nerves. Summoning all his courage, he confessed his feelings to Ori. She listened patiently, her gaze kind and warm. When he finished, she spoke softly, her voice full of care. I like you too, Great, but only as a brother. I already have someone I like. Her honesty was gentle, but it still shattered Great's hopes. With a heavy heart, he nodded, unable to say another word, and left, the weight of unrequited love hanging in the air. Back at the university, Jen was talking with Dr. Thought about a mutual acquaintance, Singh, who was trying to end things with Dr. Thought. Jen asked, did he cheat on you? Dr. Thought's voice was heavy with uncertainty. I don't know. Later that evening, when Jen returned home, she found Ori writing her novel. Jen asked, what are you doing? Ori smiled up at her and said, I'm writing a new novel. I'm telling the story of our love, but I added some of my imagination. It's good. Jen slipped behind her and hugged her, resting her chin on Ori's shoulder. Ori turned and kissed her cheek before returning to her screen and said, let me finish this. I need to concentrate. Jen teased, you're kicking me out with all this work. Ori laughed softly. I'm just shy when someone reads my writing while I'm working. Their moment was interrupted when Ori casually mentioned, by the way, Great confessed his feelings earlier. Jen tensed. What did you say? I told him I have someone else, Ori replied calmly. Jen's worry deepened. Did he ask who it was? Ori's lips curved into a mischievous smile. Guess. Concerned about Great, Jen decided to check on him. When she got home, her mother greeted her with a worried expression. Great's upstairs, she said. He's been playing the drums like a madman all day. Without hesitation, Jen rushed upstairs, her concern outweighing everything else. When she opened the door, she saw Great furiously beating the drums, his anger and frustration echoing through the room. The moment Great noticed her, he stopped, throwing his drumsticks aside. Ori ignored my confession, he said bitterly. She told me she has someone else. Jen crossed her arms and sighed. Just move on and find someone else. Or spend some money, we have plenty. Great glared at her. Can you stop talking like it's that easy? If you like someone enough, you wouldn't say things like that. He clenched his fists. But what would you know? You can only love yourself. Jen's expression hardened. Don't look down on me. You don't know everything about me. And trust me, if they let me, I wouldn't be acting like you. If Ori sees you misbehaving like this, it'll just confirm her decision. She smirked. I've walked away from plenty of guys before. They're nothing but wet trash. Frustrated, Great threw down his drumsticks and walked toward her, his expression desperate. You're close to Ori. Can you help me talk to her, please? Jen tilted her head, her gaze sharp. Let me ask you something real. Do you even think you're compatible with her? Or are you just pushing yourself onto her? Great looked away for a moment, then met her eyes with conviction. I don't mind. I like her, I love her. I just want to know who she's dated. Hearing this, Jen felt a wave of relief. At least he didn't know the person Ori was talking about was her. Didn't she tell you? Jen asked cautiously. Great scoffed. She did, but I don't believe her. It's just an excuse. She doesn't understand. She can date anyone, but not a woman. It's insulting. His voice grew more heated. If I knew who she was, I'd beat her up. Jen's expression froze. No, you won't. Great clenched his jaw. Why not? I don't care if she's a woman. Whoever steals the person I love, I'll fight them. Man or woman, it doesn't matter to me. Later, Jen and Ori went shopping at the mall together, laughing and joking as they strolled side by side. Their closeness was evident, their chemistry undeniable. They looked so happy, so comfortable in each other's company. As they walked, Jen leaned in and kissed Ori, a moment of sweetness between them. But suddenly, a familiar voice interrupted them. Is this you? Great stood before them, his face twisted in disgust. His heart was shattered, and he couldn't handle the sight. Without another word, he turned and rushed home, his steps heavy with pain. Jen and Ori exchanged worried glances and decided to follow him, hoping to clear the air. When the three of them arrived at Great's room, Jen tried to speak to him calmly, but he was furious. His anger was palpable. "Why did you do that to me?" Great shouted, his voice manic with hurt. Jen remained silent, guilt washing over her. She couldn't bring herself to respond, the weight of his pain too heavy to bear. "Why did you deceive me into falling for her?" Great yelled, his finger pointing accusingly at Ori. In his rage, he reached out and touched Ori, his touch making her flinch in a way that cut deeper than he realized. That moment Ori screamed, her voice sharp with terror. The sound seemed to break something inside her, bringing back painful memories from her past. Immediately, Great stepped back, wide-eyed, his own shock evident. Jen, heart racing, rushed to Ori's side, pulling her into a tight hug. "Ori, are you okay?" Ori, shaken and filled with raw emotion, pushed Jen away, her voice frenzied with anguish. "Leave me alone," she screamed. Great stood frozen, his nerves starting to crack under the pressure of the situation. Jen, refusing to let go of Ori, pulled her close again, allowing her to cry into her shoulder. For a long moment, Ori sobbed uncontrollably, her body shaking in Jen's arms. Jen held her tight, offering what comfort she could. Eventually, the storm of emotions began to calm, and they left the house together, heading back to the condo. At the condo, Ori sat quietly, lost in her thoughts for a while. Finally, she spoke, her voice small and quiet. "Can you take me upstairs?" Jen, her heart full of concern, nodded. She gently lifted Ori onto her back, carrying her toward the elevator. As they walked, Ori's voice broke the silence. "You're so cool now, Jen." Jen chuckled softly. "I carry you on my back. Did you see how people looked at us?" Some were laughing. Ori raised an eyebrow. "Do you care about other people more than me?" she asked, her voice playful. "If I did, I wouldn't carry you. I've never done this for anyone else, and I've never let anyone do this for me. You're the first." Touched by her words, Ori wrapped her arms around Jen's neck, holding her tightly. It was a small act of comfort, but it seemed to make Ori feel better. Then, with a gentle smile, Ori whispered, "Jen, marry me. How could I live without you?" Jen smiled back, hey teasing, "Let's wait until we both graduate. If we're still together by then, we'll get married." Ori's face lit up with a smile, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. Together, they walked toward the condo, their hearts full of love and the promise of a future they both hoped would last. Later, Dr. Thought arranged to meet Jen, saying he had something important to tell her. As they were talking, he casually mentioned, "Your mom called me this morning to ask if you and I are really dating." Jen was taken aback. "When did she call you?" she asked, her voice a mix of surprise and concern. "This morning," Dr. Thought replied. Hearing this, Jen suddenly felt uneasy. She had a sinking feeling that her mom might know about her relationship with Ori. She began to suspect that Great might have already told her everything, as he was often a spoiled, unpredictable child. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Ori. "Jen. Your mom is here at the condo." Jen froze, her heart racing. She was startled and anxious. Dr. Thought noticed the shift in her expression and asked, "What happened, Jen? Why do you look so shocked?" "My mom is with Ori at the condo," Jen replied quickly, panic rising in her chest. Without another word, she rushed to the condo. When Jen arrived at the condo, she saw her mom sitting calmly on the couch with Ori. The atmosphere in the room felt heavy, making Jen's heart race. She wondered nervously what would happen if her mom discovered she was dating a woman. Determined to act natural, she plastered on a smile and said, "Why don't you call me before you show up here?" Her mom replied with a shrug, "If I called first, I wouldn't see something like that." Her tone wasn't angry, but it was clear she knew something. Jen forced a laugh. "So, why are you here?" Her mom responded, "I wanted to visit the condo I bought. Can't I be here?" From her mother's expression, Jen could tell she was testing her, trying to gauge how far she could go. To play along, Jen sat down next to her and hugged her, pretending to be the perfect daughter. "Yes, you can," Jen said, "but you should at least let me know first." Her mom swiftly changed the topic. "So, what happened between the two of you?" Jen hesitated. "What exactly did Great tell you?" "He told me everything," her mom replied. Jen lowered her gaze. "It's my fault. I admit it." Her mom studied her for a moment before asking, "When did you and Ori start liking each other?" Jen blushed, unsure if she should be honest. Finally, she said, "I'm not sure, maybe from the first time we met. I fell in love with her then." Her mom sighed. "If you had been honest from the start, your brother wouldn't have had hope for Ori. And he wouldn't be acting like this now." Jen's heart sank. She knew her mom was right. Her mom continued, "Do you feel guilty?" Jen straightened up. "I'm not losing. I don't feel guilty. She's mine." Her mom smiled softly. At least you've learned to love someone. You have feelings. That's something I can be proud of. She added, Great needs to learn how to handle loss. It'll teach him a valuable lesson. Jen was surprised her mom wasn't as upset as she'd expected. I'll talk to Great. I'll explain everything once he calms down. I'll even apologize. Her mom looked at her, astonished. You apologizing? Since when do you care about other people's feelings? Jen chuckled awkwardly. Her mom's expression softened even more. Ori's good for you. She's changed you for the better. You've never cared for anyone this way before, and you've never apologized for anything. It's not so bad dating a woman after all. I think I'm starting to like her. Jen blinked in disbelief. You're okay with me dating a woman? As long as it's love, I'm fine with it, her mom said warmly. Just be thoughtful. You can talk to me about anything. Jen smiled. You're kinder now, her mom teased. But what about Dr. Thought? Are you dating two people at once? Jen laughed nervously and confessed everything about her fake relationship with Dr. Thought. Her mom didn't seem to mind and just shook her head with a smile. As her mom prepared to leave, Jen asked her mom, how can you be okay with this? That I like women. Her mom turns to look at Jen and says, can't I be okay with this? You're in love, then she continued. You are both still young. It's good that you have a close friend. When you meet the right guy, you will separate. I know this because I was like that when I was young too. Because right now, the two of you might not clearly distinguish whether what's happening between you is love or just obsession. Her words hung in the air, leaving Jen to wrestle with a mix of emotions. While she was relieved her mom wasn't completely opposed, the implication that her relationship with Ori wasn't meant to last stung deeply. What will happen next? Stay tuned for the next episode. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share to show your support for the channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.